When we talk about why women feel it so sweet, so incredibly intense, when you enter from behind, it's easy to reduce the conversation to the physical. But the truth is, what's happening in that moment goes far deeper than the body. It's psychological, it's emotional. And for many women, it taps into something primal, something she often doesn't express in words, but feels with her entire being. You see, in that position, she gives up control. She's not looking at you face to face, she's not guiding the rhythm, and she's not monitoring the moment through her usual filters. She's exposed, fully, unapologetically. And it's that very exposure, that complete letting go, that intensifies her sensitivity. When a woman turns her back to you and allows you to enter her in that vulnerable way, it's not just an invitation to her body, it's an invitation into her trust. Because let's be honest, this position demands trust. She's not watching your every move. She's not able to anticipate your next motion based on your facial expression or your tone. All she has is sensation. All she has is how you make her feel in that moment. And that, right there, is where the magic happens. Most people underestimate the role of the mind in physical pleasure. But women, more than men, are deeply mental when it comes to arousal. Her brain is her largest sex organ. And in that moment, when she turns away and lets go, she's giving herself permission to stop performing, to stop calculating, and just feel. She drops into her body. And that shift alone changes everything. Because surrender is not weakness. Surrender is strength. It's her choosing to be fully present, fully receptive, fully feminine. In that space, her body becomes more responsive, her senses heighten, her breath deepens, and every thrust, every touch sends a ripple through her nervous system. It's not about being dominated, it's about feeling safe enough to dissolve. And this is where emotional intimacy quietly enters the room. Because if a woman doesn't feel emotionally safe with you, she will never fully let go. She may go through the motions, she may even enjoy the physical act, but she won't reach that deep, honey sweet level of pleasure we're talking about. That kind of sweetness only shows up when she trusts that she can fall and you'll hold her, not just with your body, but with your energy, your presence, your respect. What makes it sweeter is not the position itself, but the meaning behind it. She's not looking for just stimulation, she's looking for depth. She wants to feel desired, yes, but more than that, she wants to feel chosen in the rawest way, that when she turns her back, you see all of her and still move toward her with tenderness and power. It's a delicate balance. The physical can only do so much, but when you combine the right physical angle with the right emotional container, that's when the experience becomes unforgettable. That's when her body melts. That's when the pleasure gets so deep, it's almost spiritual. So, don't be fooled into thinking this is just about the act. It's not. It's about what the act unlocks, mentally, emotionally, energetically. When you understand that, you stop chasing technique and start creating connection, and that's when she feels it. That's when she calls it sweet. Not because of how you moved, but because of how she felt being moved by you. And that's something no technique can teach, only presence can. Because in the end, the deepest pleasure isn't about control, it's about surrender. And the sweetest surrender happens when a woman feels safe enough to give you everything, even when she can't see your face. Now let's look at what's actually happening inside her body when you enter from the back, and why it feels so incredibly sweet, almost overwhelming for so many women. This isn't just about deep thrusts or strong motion. There's a science to the pleasure, the structure within her anatomy that makes this experience far more than physical routine. When you understand how her body is wired, you begin to see that pleasure is not random. It's intelligent. It's built into her. The female anatomy is layered with zones of sensitivity, but the back entry angle offers unique access to some of the deepest ones. Most people talk about the G-spot, and yes, that's important. But from behind, you're also hitting areas like the A-spot, a lesser-known zone located near the cervix, where nerve endings are incredibly sensitive. The rhythm and angle from this position allow for more consistent and direct stimulation of those regions. Unlike other positions that only graze the surface or stimulate the entrance of the vaginal canal, doggy style, when done with care and rhythm, applies pressure to the entire length. The deeper stroke and the natural tilt of her pelvis allow you to activate sensations that feel like they're coming from the inside out, not just surface level pleasure, but a kind of fullness that reaches her emotional core. This is what makes it feel so sweet. It's not just physical contact, it's internal resonance. Now, here's what's fascinating. When those inner nerve clusters are stimulated in just the right way, the body doesn't just react with pleasure, it releases emotionally, psychologically. She may cry, she may moan louder, she may go silent. Because those inner zones hold more than just sensation, they hold tension. And when touched right, they unlock that tension, giving her a sense of freedom that's almost therapeutic. That's why women often describe this experience as deeper, not just in penetration, but in meaning. Something about it awakens her, because the body remembers things the mind tries to forget. And when you touch her that deeply, you're not just giving her pleasure, you're helping her let go of overthinking, of fear, of past hurt. And it's not something she can manufacture on command. The body has to trust you. The muscles have to soften. The energy has to be right. But when those pieces fall into place, her pleasure becomes something sacred. And you as a man become more than just a participant. You become a key, unlocking something that she didn't even know she had closed off. This is why intention matters. If your goal is just to get off, she'll feel that, and her body will stay guarded. But if your presence is aligned, if your energy says, I'm here, I'm listening, I want to feel you, not just use you, then her body will respond. It will bloom. And you'll see a side of her that no one else gets to see, not because you were perfect in technique, but because you were intentional in your approach. So understand this. It's not the position that makes it powerful. It's what the position allows. It allows depth. It allows access. It allows connection that's felt not just in the body, but in the soul. And if you can meet her there, if you can approach her body with that kind of awareness, you won't just give her pleasure, you'll give her release. And in that release, you become unforgettable. Because the deepest pleasure doesn't come from how hard you go, but from how deeply you connect. What most people don't realize, and this is where it gets fascinating, is that the reason many women feel such intense pleasure when entered from the back goes beyond the physical or even the anatomical. It has a lot to do with association, with what this position represents to her psychologically. Because whether we acknowledge it or not, the mind plays just as much a role in arousal as the body does. And when a woman is in a position that breaks the routine, that feels spontaneous or even taboo, her mind lights up, literally. The backmentary position often carries a very different energy than, say, the typical face-to-face experience. Missionary, for example, tends to carry more emotional weight. It's slower, more focused on connection, and often tied to feelings of affection and emotional bonding. But when you enter her from the back, it awakens a different kind of response. It feels instinctual, unfiltered, raw. It doesn't always carry the weight of expectations or emotional dialogue. It just is. And that is exactly what makes it feel so freeing for her. Her brain isn't overthinking, it's reacting. That sudden shift into something that feels less controlled, less expected, sends a signal to her nervous system. We're doing something different now. Pay attention. That rush, that burst of excitement, it's dopamine, it's adrenaline. It's her brain rewarding her for letting go of predictability. And in that moment, she's not focused on how she looks, what sounds she's making, or whether she's performing right. She's just feeling raw, pure, unfiltered pleasure. What's more, this position often taps into her personal fantasies, fantasies that many women feel too shy to express openly. Whether it's a craving for being taken or the thrill of surrendering without having to explain herself, it feeds something in her that isn't often addressed in traditional intimacy. It bypasses the logical brain and goes straight to her primal self, that part of her that doesn't want to be polite, doesn't want to be delicate. She just wants to feel and feel deeply. Now, here's where things get really powerful. When a man understands this, truly understands the psychology behind her response, he stops treating backmentry as just another physical option and begins to see it as an emotional doorway. A moment where he can give her more than just sensation. He can give her the space to be completely herself, uninhibited, wild, safe. And when you give a woman the emotional freedom to step into that space without shame or judgment, you will be remembered, not for the position, but for the experience. Because at the core of it all, women crave experiences that allow them to drop their guard. And while this may shock some people, it's often the rawness of the back entry, the way it bypasses eye contact, the way it removes the pressure to be loving in the traditional sense, that allows her to enter a more uninhibited version of herself, the version that feels safe enough to express her hunger, her desire, her surrender. It's not about being rough or detached. It's not about objectifying. It's about understanding the mental space this position can create and meeting her there with presence, awareness, and care. Because once a woman associates a certain experience with full emotional release, her body remembers it. And every time you revisit it with the right energy, the sweetness only deepens. So the next time you think it's just another angle, remember this. It's not about the position. It's about the permission to be wild, to be wanted, to be free. And when you give a woman that kind of freedom, you don't just touch her body, you awaken her soul. One of the most overlooked reasons women feel it's so sweet when you enter from behind is the shift in sensory focus that this position creates. And I want you to really think about this, because what seems like a simple change in physical arrangement actually creates a powerful psychological effect. When her back is to you and she's not looking into your eyes, not reading your facial expressions or interpreting your emotional cues, something fascinating happens. Her awareness turns inward. And in that inward shift, she feels more, not less. Now, some people assume that the absence of eye contact means a loss of intimacy. But for many women, it's the opposite. In certain moments, removing the distraction of visual engagement actually deepens the experience, because instead of focusing on what you're thinking, what she looks like, or how she's being perceived, her entire attention is redirected to what she's feeling. Every stroke, every breath, every shift in rhythm becomes magnified. The silence between moans, the subtle grip of hands on her hips, even the way your breath hits her neck, all of it becomes more alive. It's almost like sensory meditation. Her sense of touch is heightened because the mind isn't splitting attention between seeing and feeling. She's not outside of herself trying to make sense of the moment. She's inside of herself, immersed in the moment. And in that state, her nervous system becomes hyper-responsive. She might arch more, moan louder, even go still, not because she's passive, but because she's feeling everything more deeply. It's in this space, where she is less focused on you and more connected to herself, that pleasure becomes sacred. It's no longer just about what you're doing to her, but what's awakening within her. The stimulation from behind, combined with this psychological withdrawal from visual pressure, creates a cocoon-like experience where she can finally surrender without the need to perform. She doesn't have to hold eye contact or mirror your expressions. She's allowed to just be. And when a woman is allowed to just be, without expectation, without pressure, she becomes more open, not just physically, but emotionally. Her body softens, her defenses drop, and her pleasure flows without resistance. It's a state that many women long for, but rarely get to access, not because their partners don't care, but because their partners don't understand. This position, when approached with awareness and intention, gives her that access. It doesn't disconnect you. It simply invites you to connect with her through different channels, through touch, through movement, through rhythm. And when those elements are in harmony, it speaks to her in a language deeper than words or even eye contact. It speaks to her body directly. What's important to understand is that pleasure isn't always about intensity. It's about presence. And sometimes, when you remove one layer of stimulation, like visual engagement, other senses become sharper, more alive, more intimate. That's what makes the backmentary position so uniquely sweet for so many women. It places her in a position where she can receive fully and without pretense, while also heightening